Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to review the 1979 classic horror science fiction film Alien with my buddy Fred the Facehugger because, well, how else can I show how much I love this particular movie? This film starts out with the crew of the Nostromo, let me say that a third time, Nostromo, 7 human beings and 1 cat, being woken up to answer a distress signal, or what they believe to be a distress signal, on a distant alien world. Of course, these people are essentially space truck drivers. So being space truck drivers, they're like, why would we do that? And of course, the company has put in their contract that if they don't do that, they get no money. So, because they need money, they decide to go check out this signal coming from a derelict spacecraft out on a small world. And of course they, you probably get the idea that they find an alien, hence the title, and then bad things happen. Yeah. And this movie was originally referred to in Hollywood as Jaws in Space, because it takes a lot from the Jaws film in that you really can't see the monster. It's building suspense and tension, and there are underlying themes that do not become wholly apparent until the end of the film, whereas those themes are wholly apparent in Jaws in the beginning of the film. But these elements are very similarly there. Now, a lot of people really like Jaws. It's a G-rated horror film, and personally, I think Jaws is overrated. It survived on a marketing campaign, but it was a very good movie. It just wasn't the great movie it should have been. Now, Alien, well, I think I've seen this movie 20 or 30 times. I've loved it each and every time. I have to admit here as an adult, it is slow in the first half. It begins to pick up. There are very subtle nuances you have to pick up on that you would only see that if you've watched the film as many times as I have. But, well, let's start off with the basic point. This film had its art department headed by R.R.Gigger, or Geiger. It's Geiger as in Geiger counter. Yeah, he designed the alien and many of the things on the alien ship. And you look at this, and this is absolute genius. And why is it absolute genius? Because Geiger suffered from night terrors. And Geiger's night terrors, I keep saying Geiger, that's what I grew up calling him. Geiger's night terrors essentially led him on a road to create things that are anatomy grotesque, death and sexuality interposed together. And Alien is essentially a film about sexual assault. It's sexual assault of the most brutal and bizarre nature, and I mean, when I was a kid, this movie terrified me, and I couldn't stop watching it for some reason. But then I have to admit, now that I've lived with a mature version of my sister, nothing really scares me. Not even having one of these things coming at me. I mean, look at that. It's like a spider tarantula monster that sticks something down your throat and orally violates you. And Fred, you're a terrifying piece of work, you know that. You really are. Anyway, so in this film you have what is essentially the most noted performance of Sigourney Weaver, who plays the iconic Ripley, and you believe her all the way. She is a character driven by very little other than survival. She's just trying to do her job, trying to get through the day, trying to get back home where she belongs. And this alien has threatened that, as well as the behavior of certain crew members. When you look at Ripley, she is an excellent main character. She has, in the beginning, you look at her and she has kind of a tomboy appearance, allowing for a certain level of self-insertion of every person, regardless of whether they're male or female. And she plays the role so perfectly that, I mean, she just is Ripley. You see Sigourney Weaver and you think of her as the Ripley character. She's perfect for this role. And this is very odd because originally they thought someone with her kind of an upbringing, being something of a well-to-do girl, wouldn't have the ability to play the gritty realism of the Alien film. But they did some test viewing and that worked very well. So they said, okay, yeah, let's put her in this. Often underrated in this film is Harry Dean Stanton, who plays Brett, and Yaphet Kotto, who plays Parker. These two men are essentially the comic relief for the film. Parker is the dirty one. Brett is the sort of yes man. And these people are the janitors, they're the custodians, they're the people keeping the old and rickety Nostromo running. And this is where we see, in scenes with them, we see the basic standpoint of once you get into space, to a certain extent, things are shiny and new. But eventually they start wearing down, they start breaking down, they start getting older and grittier and greasier. And the scenes with Brett and Parker illustrate much of that gritty nature within the human world. They are the common man. They are the people that we as the working class most associate with. When you think of command structure, where Ripley is on the command structure, is very well defined. Who she is, what she does. I believe she's referred to at some point as a warrant or flight officer. These two being the maintenance crew, they are the absolute bottom of the barrel. If everyone else is dead, they're finally in charge. And don't count their performances out, because in all reality, this movie is perfectly cast. And I really enjoyed these two particular individuals. I don't think they get enough credit. Now let me tell you something. If you know anything about Alien, you should probably see it, because it is a masterpiece. Not only is it a masterpiece, it is a piece of Americana, almost a perfect film, as close as I can imagine to a perfect film. And that's why I am reviewing it now. But all the horror movies I've ever seen, none of them has ever captured my imagination like Alien. It is an iconic film. Go see it.